Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. Plus, like I said last time, I can't lose, haha. Hope you enjoyed my lens crafter anecdotes, because it's all business now. Or all billsness now, 7J0D. It's, oh, what have I done? Okay. I hit space instead of Q. Happens all the time. What was I talking about? I was talking about negotiation I was talking about my Saturday. And we didn't really do much on Saturday, except for go to the mall, and I, you know, kind of like it that way, to be honest. It's a busy time of the year. Meetings. Take my Saturday just to take a deep breath, relax, get myself in the kind of headspace I'd like to be in to record 20 or 30 videos and a bunch of streams to go out during the next week. Seems appropriate to me, you know? I used to look at my time away from the computer as anecdote refueling. Now I look at it as like brain therapy, which might seem a little bit like not an oxymoron. What's like erroneous or extraneous? You know, it's redundant. That's the word I'm looking for. But now I'm like, you know, I spend basically Sunday to Friday talk. On Saturday, I like to sit down and keep my mouth shut, and man, it's a dream come true. I did also play like 4 hours of Tetris 99 yesterday, and dude, let me tell you, I'm not going to spoil it for you too much. I'm still seeking that first W. I have so many second places. Like, outside of the top 10, whatever. Sometimes you have games that are close, sometimes you have games where you just, you know, encounter the treachery of a Tetris version of Annie Oakley early on, and you get bodied. But dude, within the top 10, it's like a logarithmic scale. Like, it's 100 million times harder to get first than it is to get 10th. So far, based on my analysis. Based on my anecdotal evidence, shall we say. But anyway, dude, Tetris 99. Right now, I have to imagine there's, or maybe not. Maybe what I'm about to say is false. I have to imagine there's some dialogue in the Tetris company boardroom where they're like, hey, now that this game's come out and we got like so many concurrent players, how do we monetize it, like, at all? And I'm not trying to, I think the internet takes a very anti-monetization angle, and I'm not going to say they're wrong to do so, okay? Because some companies have probably taken liberties with the amount and frequency of monetization. How on earth did we not get hit? That leaves people to be guarded. But we're talking about, I mean, right now, it's a free game with no microtransactions whatsoever. And it's also, like, there's literally no way to give them money for this game, even if you wanted to. Even, like, Apex Legends, I don't feel the pull for cosmetic skins at all. But, you know, I played, like, maybe 20 or 25 hours, and I bought both of the premium characters, because I was like, this is... Not only would I like to peep the characters, but, like, you know, Respawn, you've done enough to earn my money here. But Tetris 99, I have, like, 20 hours in the game. There's no avenue to give them money. I'm not complaining necessarily. I'm more just like, you know... Worst case scenario, you know, it's not all about the direct monetization model, you know? They got hundreds of thousands, perhaps even more, and I don't even think I'm exaggerating there. People caring about Tetris. People that cared about it 5, 10, 20 years ago and forgot. And people that, you know, have never been invested in Tetris are now playing it again as well. Or now playing it as well, I should say. So they, you know, even if they don't ever make a dime, I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe Nintendo paid them to put Tetris 99 on Switch for free, but certainly I hope they're getting paid like per download or something like that. But either way, you know, they've definitely increased Tetris mind share and probably helped their business in the future. But man, that's got to be like one of the most successful games of the, you know, the last 12 months or so. At least in terms of like coming out of nowhere and becoming, you know, so popular. And I know you're probably like, it's not that popular. Dude, I think it's that popular. All I can go on is two things. Well, like 2 or 3 things. I see people talking about it online. A lot of streamers I follow have been playing it. And also, the queue time for a game is under probably 10 to 20 seconds. Those are all very, very good signs, I think, for a game's health and hopefully longevity as well. But yeah, still seeking that first win. I definitely am getting the Tetris effect. You know, I close my eyes only for a moment and the T-spin's gone. But yeah, I just careful. I lose hours into that game. Well, if you're gonna get anything, you should start with Diplopia. But I do think I did this all predominantly to get Blue Candle. Yeah. I'm okay with that. You know what? I guess we could hold up a second here. Anyway, I am not even trying to be like... You know, some people are like, my favorite game of the year is a big piece of poop on a stick. You know, they derive credibility away from... or they derive credibility from, I should say, being contrarian. Which is a little bit of a cynical way to describe it, but I think there's an element of that to some reviewers and some critics on YouTube as well. I'm not trying to be this Galaxy Brain guy. I sincerely think Tetris 99 has, like... I'm gonna say it. I think it's got Game of the Year potential. I know it's early. I'm telling you, there's a huge hill to climb for anything to beat Slay the Spire. And just because a lot of my Slay the Spire playtime is in 2017 and 2018 doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't devalue the 2019 experience. Because that's when the game, quote-unquote, came out. But anyway. Yeah, I know Tetris 99 doesn't have a heartfelt story about a father and son going on adventures in Yggdrasil, you know? It's just like... I'm even going to go one step further, okay? And it's early. Don't quote me on this. Which is why I'm going to say it could be. It could be. Could be the best Battle Royale to date. Now, there's a few different games where if you chose them as the best Battle Royale to date, I would at least assume that you're arguing in good faith. I think PUBG you could. What are the knocks against PUBG? Very obvious, you know, the execution of the actual development of the game itself has not been that good. But it's still, for a lot of people, and I respect this, and again, I believe them, it's the nexus between realism and goofiness that is a balance that struck the best in that game. You know, Fortnite, a little bit too casual. Apex, a little bit too casual for a lot of people. Or too fast-paced, maybe, is another one that comes up. PUBG kind of fits the middle, or hits that middle note, you know? Fortnite, I can understand. You know, it's got a novel mechanic in the form of the building. Apex, I definitely think it's, like, the most polished of the three. Mechanically, I find it the most interesting. But I don't know, man. I honestly, well and truly believe Tetris 99 might be the best Battle Royale. Now, it's only been out for 2 weeks. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, I'll admit. But if you haven't played it, please download it and check it out, especially if you suck at Tetris. If you're good, turn off the video. Forget I ever said anything. We already got too many grandmasters playing the game. There's nothing more frustrating than you get to the final 2 or 3 and you realize that the only reason you made it that far is because the pro in your game hadn't, you know, turned his gaze to you yet. If you're a novice level Tetris player, please fill up my games. Yo, let's go. So yeah, that was my Sunday. We also, so it's, you know, everything's controversial in today's day and age. We watched Captain America: Civil War again. You know, a couple years ago. Well, I mean, it's like a year and a half ago, I guess. We were doing like a very slow Marvel rewatch to prepare for Infinity War. We didn't get all the way there. We got, I don't know, maybe to like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. It's probably like halfway through. Enough, you know, we got to the recent-ish movies, and, you know, Infinity War came out, and I like Infinity War a lot. And at the risk of sounding like I don't want to get into an argument, I don't want to get into an argument. You know why? Because, you know, I've been arguing about dumb nonsense on the internet for, like, literally, like, 2/3 of my life at this point. It's an embarrassment. I'm ashamed of it on a daily basis. I can't do it anymore. The Star Warses and the Brie Larsons and the what have you, the DC versus the Marvel universe, as the domain of the younger generation, okay? To you with flailing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with the last Jedi, we shall not sleep though poppies blow in Flanders fields. But anyway, you know, since there was like a year, well, there was like 8 months where there was no Marvel movies coming out. We watched a few. We watched, you know, Ant-Man and Doctor Strange. We watched Captain America: Civil War last night. It's still a good movie, dude. I wanted to, you know, continue the rewatch because I like having something on in the background while I'm playing Tetris. Kay was like, do you want to watch the last episode of Kingdom? You know, the Netflix Korean show. And I was like, nah. I don't want to read subtitles because I'm playing Tetris. She was like, okay, I'll put on Civil War. I'll still... Look. I feel like those of us who like superhero films, the impression that people who do not like superhero films have of us is that, you know, I'm at the movie theater, I'm at the multiplex, and I'm going, oh my god! And I'm like grabbing the shoulder of the person next to me. That's Thor! That's... No, it's not really like that, you know? I just see them as like, you know, very, very well-crafted popcorn movies. You know what gets the... it doesn't get as much credit as it deserves, is the composition, like the scoring of Marvel movies. I really think... Dude, I'm going absolutely buck wild here. We have a 185 rate of fire. Good God. Don't even look at my damage stat. Like, I swear to you that they could literally have like a baby on screen, and the baby, not a baby maybe, but like, you know, a small child, and then the baby goes, I farted, and the mom, like, you know, checks his diaper and goes, you didn't poop. And then if they played the Avengers theme, you know, you know, I would be moved to tears. I don't know what it is about that piece of music. That piece of music, as embarrassing as it is, it gives me faith in humanity in the moment of hearing it. It's not because the man in the cape. I'm starting to realize, you know, it's not because the man in the cape said, like, that's what we do, Tony. We protect the people who need protecting. It's not because of that. It's because there's a melody in the background that sounds hopeful and inspirational and is played on brass instruments. I'm starting to realize I'm not really into superhero movies as much for the superhero aspect as I am for the fact that they have a brass-driven inspirational score. You know? That's, you know, the Rocky theme song. One of the most inspirational songs ever put to celluloid. I'm also reminded of this, you know, there's been like a confluence of superhero things today. It's the 10-year anniversary of the Watchmen film having come out. It's extremely wild to me, because Watchmen, and, you know, allow me to reminisce here. Watchmen was one of the... I guess it wasn't one of the last movies I watched in college, but it was definitely like toward the end of my college experience. So I'm getting to the point where, you know, some of these college memories at this point are actually most of my college memories at this point are more than a decade old. That's crazy to think about for me. And I remember, like, you know, Watchmen came out on like that Friday. I had just broken up with my first serious long-term girlfriend on like the Thursday. And it was bad, dude. I mean, I wasn't in a terrible place. But, you know, I was sad, but I wasn't, like, destroyed. I was, you know, I'm trying to think of the right word. I was experiencing some melancholy, for sure. And I'll tell you, dude, it was, I mean, it wasn't, like, that rough of a break. It wasn't, like, an explosive breakup. It was just, like, a tragic breakup. Like, I remember, it must have actually been that Friday. Because, you know, we hadn't been talking as much for like a week. I'm not saying this to bring up the past, but really just because in hindsight, with the benefit of it being, you know, more than a decade ago, I can really appreciate the humor in the story now. That I would have laughed. I can laugh at it having happened to myself, but I can also laugh at it having happened to me. And it probably took me a long time to get there. But anyway, you know, there have been like some signs, for sure. And I'm not talking about the M. Night Shyamalan movie. That was like 2000. Almost a decade before this. Maybe 2002. She texted me on my LG chocolate cellular telephone and said, hey, can I come over tomorrow? We need to talk. And, you know, that wasn't a good sign. So I said, that's fine. Why don't you come over around, like, you know, 3? And I had prepared myself mentally. Well, you know, 3 rolls around, 3:30, 4, 4:35... 6, 7, 8 p.m. and nothing's happening. I'm kind of left on pins and needles here, right? You're left with the sword of Damocles hanging over your head. And then she texts and she says, do I really have to come over and talk about it? And I was just like, all right. I get it. It's a weird way to end things, but, you know, it was kind of like a have a nice life situation. And then, like, before anybody really knew, except like my very, very close friends, I got invited to go see the Watchmen movie. And these things really are not that related. I'm not building like a bit here. I'm building like a slice of life, you know? It's why the Watchmen movie, which I think is okay, is why it has a little bit more, not significance, but it's like a little bit of a signpost, you know, at that transition from, like, the end of my teenage life, essentially, to the start of my, you know, adult real life. The same way that for Bill Murray's character in Groundhog Day, you know, Sonny and Cher's I Got You, Babe. Nice dodge, by the way. Probably not his favorite song, but, you know, this song's got a unique sort of significance. Just as a result of the juxtaposition of when it took place in his life. You know, I'm sure you got stuff like that as well. Everybody's got those, like, where were you when moments. Not all of them are related to, you know, world news. I'm trying to think of, like, other ones. There's several in movies, I guess, where the song takes on greater significance. But anyway, it's wild for me to think, you know, anytime, again, I've talked about this phenomenon of, like, things being a decade ago, as being one of those weird kind of moments as you get older, if you haven't experienced it yet. When you have, like, adult moments that happened 10 years ago for the first time, that's when things are wild. You know, when you're like, I remember things that happened 10 years ago. That's step 1. Step 2 is when you're like, Watchmen 10 years ago? Really? Then you think about how long you've been making Isaac episodes. And you go, whoa, dude, that's absurd. Anyway, that was just a little slice of life from me. I remember I was very thankful to have the company of my friends at the time. But then after the movie, they were like, there was a lot of blue schlong in that movie. And I was like, excuse me, Anna, can we raise the level of discourse a little bit? What do you think about the themes of Rorschach saying, I'm not locked in here with you, you're locked in here with me? Anyway, dude, for my money, I'll just say it. I think Watchmen is probably my favorite Zack Snyder movie. I actually, I don't like very much Dawn of the Dead 2004, but I understand why people do. They're just not as cultured as I am. Wait, why'd she break up with you again? No. I don't like, I don't mind, I should say, 300. I think 300 is like, it's okay. Sucker Punch is horrible. But I can, for whatever reason, I can get down with Watchmen. I thought Watchmen, when I saw it, I was like, it's not like a 10 out of 10. But dude, give me, at least in this case, as long as we're talking about superhero movies to the point of exhaustion, give me that over something that's just kind of like a workman-like superhero movie. Like, dude, I don't want to do it. It sounds lame, but because it's Curse of the Darkness and our HP is low, I don't want to spend 20 minutes in that boss rush just to get Polyphemus. Plus, I'm pretty sure our rate of fire would be like 500. But anyway. I feel like Zack Snyder, you know, he kind of shot for the moon on Watchmen. Another superhero movie that came out around 10 years ago, The Incredible Hulk starring Edward Norton. That movie, I would say Marvel didn't really shoot for the moon on that one. Feel like that was like, yeah, people know this green guy. Let's put a movie, that was like an investor's movie. I saw that one in theaters too. As I left the theater, I went, it's okay. Anyway, that's a little slice of my own experience there. I brought it up, it's interesting, but it's also, you know, maybe you can reflect on moments like that in your life. You got media properties that have significance to you, not necessarily even over sentimental value, but just because they're signposts, like, in your life. You know, they happen to coincide with a pivotal moment or something like that. I'm trying to think of other examples. It's a weird one, but like, you know, the only other one that comes to mind is that, you know, in 11th grade we had to read 1984. I should say we got the privilege of reading 1984 in our English class, because it's a great book. As much as it, I don't know if I'd say it gets memed on, but as much as, you know, I think the message of 1984 is not lost, but is probably misinterpreted by a lot of people as being like, trust no one. It's a great book, for sure. And as I was reading it, I listened to this One Modest Mouse album. This is a long drive for someone with nothing to think about. Sorry, it's been a while. I listened to it on repeat, like, I don't know, probably like 20 or 30 times over the course of reading that book. Now, whenever I hear songs from that album, I immediately, like, conjure up the mental images I have of, you know, scenes from that book, you know. I'm not going to spoil anything, but, I mean, if you haven't read 1984, it did come out, like, you know, 35 years ago. No, NL. Don't. Actually, it's from the 30s. I know. Where was I going with this? I mean, that's the only other one I could think of right now. I'm sure there's others if you give it some time. I remember it was like, I visited Kate, like, when she was in college. And as I was wandering through the, like, absolutely beautiful campus of the University of British Columbia. Just like an incredible... I went to a school that's relatively picturesque, alright? UBC is like... It's one of the most beautiful places in Canada, that I've seen at least. Anyway, while I was walking through the hallowed halls of the University of British Columbia, I was like, man, so it was like 2014, and I was like, I graduated from college in 2010. It's like, I've almost been out of college for as long as I was in college in the first place. Now, I'm at double that length of time. And again, I don't bring that up to be like, nope, getting older. But I love this. -2 rate of fire. And a very, very, very modest... Oh my god, we got Monstro's Lung. I gotta know what happens here. Sorry, I've lost a lot of my train of thought. Charge it up. lord. It's like, you ever play workplace math? Workplace math, I can't be the person inventing this term. But when I used to work at a job, and it was a job that I did not dislike, but it was not as fun as being at home doing whatever I wanted, you know? I feel like you can probably relate to that. There's a great Twitter meme, and I feel, you know, if I felt 30 a minute ago, now I feel about 8 years old after saying great Twitter meme. But, you know, it's, oh, time almost done at bad screen. Can't wait to get home so I can look at good screen instead. And it's just 2 pictures of the dude looking at the computer, right? But really, I mean, it was kind of like that. So here's what I call workplace math, and feel free to use this yourself. There's 2 forms of workplace math. One is financial, and it's a really useful model to become a complete ascetic as far as your lifestyle goes. The other one is temporal. So we'll start with the financial model. Let's say you get paid $10 an hour, and you know, it's just for a nice round number. You get paid $10 an hour. A sandwich is $7.50. If you bring your lunch from home, it's $2.50. Is it worth a half hour of your time to have a sandwich from this place instead of a sandwich from home? If the answer is no, bring your sandwich from home, save your money. And, you know, the reason I contrasted 2 things there is because it's a little unfair to be like, yeah, just don't eat. You know, that's where you hit logical extreme level. That's a very, and, you know, it might get you lambasted as being a little bit boring. But it's a model that I used for a long time. You know? Even on, you know, as YouTube is, and even still to this day to some extent. You know, you're like, is possession or experience worth what went into it? Now, the thing is, when you like your job and your job is playing video games, it's a little easier to justify, because you're just like, yeah, I could play 100 more episodes of Isaac to buy a car or something. Hey, don't you dare kill me again. Not on a Brimstone Ipecac run. Not today. Hold up. But, you know, when I worked a job where I got paid substantially less and didn't enjoy what I was doing as much, as helpful. The other one is, it helps, is a model of thinking that helps the day go faster, in my opinion at least. So here's the secret. You know, you hear about some people, they're in the office, they're counting down hours from, you know, 9 to 5, right? You don't do that. You go into the office at 9, don't look at the clock. You don't look at the clock until at least 11, maybe 12. And then, let's say you look at the clock and it's 12, you give yourself a little pick-me-up. You go, oh my god, we're 3/8 of the way through the day. You know, in another hour, we'll be halfway there. Then, once you get to halfway there, you start to do more and more of the math. Because at first, the math, if you really want to go home, you know, is going to depress you. You're like, oh, I worked for a half hour. I only knocked out, you know, 6% of the workday. Womp womp. But as you pass that halfway point, you're like, oh, I went from, you know, 66% to 72%. You know, pretty soon we're going to be in the 80s, and once you're past the 80s, well, you're home free, right? I know this sounds very sad, but you also just, you know, you got a lot of idle time when you, at least I had a lot of idle time at a lot of my jobs, so I used to, you know, run that math in my head. I actually think it's like a useful way to think about things. Keep you from going insane while you're sitting in a cubicle. And I would just like to share my, you know, collectively, I worked at an office job for like, you know, probably less than a year and a half or 2 years out of my entire adult life. But, you know, I developed some strategies. Another one, here's one. Saw a lot of people, they work at an office, can't wait to eat lunch. 11 a.m. rolls around, gotta get that lunch. No. You don't go have your lunch at 11 a.m. Even if it's the highlight of your day. Especially if it's the highlight of your day. You eat that lunch as late as your boss will allow you. I used to work at a job 8:30 to 4:30. First couple of months I worked there, I took lunch at 3. It was a 45-minute to an hour lunch. I have like a quick snack around noon, go to 3. At 3 I go, hey guys, see you later. I'm going to lunch. People go, oh my god, it's 3 p.m. Go out, grab a sandwich, enjoy some time in the park or something, 45 minutes, come back, then you're at the end of the day. By the time you come back, everybody's like, you know, they're snoozing at their desk, taking their mid-afternoon nap. You're basically getting a little bit of an you're maximizing the part of the day that's the most relaxed and minimizing the part that's the most stressful, maybe. I don't know. Then they sent around a memo and we're like, hey, just so, because this is how things work in a lot of offices. Instead of having somebody come and talk to me and go, hey, can you start taking your lunch between 11 and 1? Just so, like, we need everybody around at, like, certain times of the day in case we want to have a meeting or something like that. I would have been like, okay. Instead, they sent around an email to the entire office that were like, the company handbook says that lunchtime must be taken between 11 and 1. If you are a person who has engaged in a later or earlier lunchtime than this, please reconsider your... And everyone was like, hey, they're talking about Ryan. And I was like, yeah, they're talking about me. It's a good way to do things. Hey, anyway, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the episode, if you did, click the like button. It's a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!